We are back at Peppermill after a trip to Las Vegas that went extremely well. Pretty much perfectly, if you ask me. I was able to shoot the 5 episodes of Silver State Sights that I was looking to shoot and book winning sessions every time I had the opportunity to do so. I feel extremely comfortable, by the way, playing in that 2-5 game at the Wynn. Basically as comfortable as anywhere, with the exception of right here at the Peppermill, where you're seeing this about a week after it happened, but the day before I'm recording this vlog was the day where the mask mandate was lifted, and I was in the poker room at the time. And manager Mike Nelson got on the microphone and said, "Everyone listen up. If you are fully vaccinated, you no longer have to wear a mask." And the whole room just erupted in celebration. It was just a really cool moment, really, after wearing them, obviously, for the past year. So the mask mandate has been dropped. Plexiglass, I think, is still up here at the Peppermill. It was flip-flopped. In Vegas, I got to play without the plexiglass and with the masks. Here, probably a few more weeks with the plexiglass, but without the masks. So, can we continue the hot streak we've been on? Let's find out. What are you driving? So, fully vaccinated and mask-free, I jump into the game on table 1 and proceed to lose every hand I play for the first 2 hours. None of them all that interesting, though, so I didn't include them. I'm down 400 early, but then I get a spark when the button straddles 10, playing 7-handed. Under the gun raises 20, and the straddle calls. I'm in the big blind with Queen 8 offsuit, and I look to squeeze here. Pretty clear that if Under the Gun had a big hand, he'd have made it more than a min-raise. So I make it 105, and everyone folds. Then we go 3 ways to a flop after I raise pocket queens to 35 and the low jack over a straddle. And with 110 in, the flop, comes queen 4-5 with 2 spades giving me top set. It gets checked to me, and I bet tiny, making it 15. My plan works, as the straddle then raises 100 more. I decide to smooth call here, hoping for a second barrel on the turn. With 340 in, that card comes an offsuit deuce. And now he checks. Kind of a weird spot. I wasn't sure how to handle it because it was so clear that he didn't really have anything here. Still, I opted to bet. I make it 115, just like he had done, but he folds instantly. I'm curious how you guys might have played that, given the fact that it was just so obvious that he had nothing there. This guy was clearly driving the game with straddles, and that presented a dilemma coming up. But in this hand, he straddles again from +2, and Under the Gun calls. I have 7-8 of diamonds in middle position, and I call as well. So since no one raised, the sleeper straddle then can. He makes it 65, and my plan had been to call a raise from him in this spot. So I do. And with 195 in, the flop is ace of diamonds, queen of diamonds, 7 of spades, giving me a pair and a flush draw. Before the straddle has a chance to do anything, Under the Gun, an OMC, jams all in for his last $260. I'm not quite sure why he didn't want the guy doing all the bluffing to bet here, but whatever. The straddle folds, and he's going to have a lot of aces here, in which case I'm a coin flip, if not a slight favorite. So I make the call, and we have a $715 pot. As per usual, with pairs and flush draws, I brick both the turn and the river, and I say to myself, I think I've just lost to ace 3. I was wrong. I lost to ace deuce. Then I had to decide whether or not to go to the game I'd been wanting to get into. This guy straddling every hand basically was an unexpected wild card, but ultimately I opted to switch to the table with the VIP I knew as opposed to the one I didn't. After an hour in that game, I simply can't pick up any playable hands. Then a live 20 is on, and the only true unknown in the game makes it 100. I have ace-queen of spades in the hijack, kind of a tough spot, probably a fold, but I call anyway. So with 225 in, it comes 10-4-4 rainbow, and he bets 200. I then decide to verbalize my read on the situation, just to see if I could get him to show.
I can't beat a pair of jacks.
Oh, he called.
And he was nice enough to show that he did indeed have the jacks. Then the one and only Reno grinder straddles 10 in the low jack, and one player calls from early position. I pick up queens +2 and make it 30, and both call. So with 90 in, it comes 10 of hearts, 7 of spades, 4 of diamonds, and the first guy checks. I bet 65, and Grinder is my only caller. So with 220 in, the turn is the 5 of clubs, and I bet 100, which he doesn't take too long with and makes the call. So with 420 in, the river is the 3 of hearts. Pretty good run out for me. Definitely worth another value bet, even though I know he's not going to pay me off all that wide. I bet a stack of reds with a green chip on top, and he thinks about it, but not long before laying his hand down. My phone then runs out of juice, and all the chargers on my table don't work. So as it charges on a nearby table, I proceed to lose $200 with pocket tens, which lately has been the norm, when my opponent turned a straight on me. But I won back twice that much when I turned the nut flush when my opponent made top pair, top kicker. Then we get a live 10 on the button and a call from a VIP plus 2. I have kings and the hijack and make it 50. Straddle folds and the VIP makes the call as expected. So with 115 in, the flop is 10 of diamonds, 7 of spades, 5 of spades, and he checks. I bet 75, which he proceeds to call. So with 265 in, the turn is the 4 of hearts, and he checks again. I bet 125, and he thinks about it for 30 seconds, which led me to believe that he didn't have all that much. But he does make the call. And with 515 in, the river's the 6 of diamonds. So front door spades brick out, but there's now a one-liner to an 8, and he comes out betting 300. Now this opponent is more capable of a bluff than most, but is much less likely to try it when his opponent has shown as much strength as I have in this hand. So with that in mind, I settle on a fold, and I talk him into showing because he's the nicest guy ever, and he shows me 8-6 offsuit for the straight. Next hand might feel like deja vu. I have kings again, and the same VIP calls my pre-flop raise over a straddle who folds. So with 95 in, we see a flop of queen, jack 3, 2 diamonds, and he checks. I bet 80, which he makes the call. So with 255 in, the turn's the 10 of hearts, giving me an open-ended straight draw, and again he checks. I bet a black chip here, which he proceeds to call. And with 455 in, the river gives me top set, which is the last freaking thing in the world I was hoping for. And he bets 300 again. There's basically no chance he would do this as a bluff when I could so easily have an ace here. He sees that I'm considering a fold and proceeds to turn over a 10. But that's not going to work, as I don't pay him off this time. He doesn't show, but I'm extremely confident that I'm right. Much more confident than I would have been on the other hand had he not shown. Then when I have king 10 of hearts, I get a flop of ace of hearts, queen of hearts, 9 of spades. A shot at my first ever royal flush. A VIP bets 125, and I decide to just jam all in here for 800. He thinks about it, shows a queen, and folds. I'm assuming had he had an ace, he would have gone ahead and gambled with me. Day turns to night and the casino fills up with a Tesla being given away. More on that later. Then the game takes a real turn when a local pro buys in super deep and his 8-9 collides with the VIP's 8-4 on a flop of 5-6-7, and it results in the pro winning a $9,500 pot. Definitely one of the biggest pots that's ever happened in Reno 3-5 No Limit Hold'em. A nuts against second nuts cooler. Good thing I've never experienced that. Then we get a $20 raise under the gun from a guy clearly on tilt and a call from a VIP plus 2. This is my third time having pocket kings against him, and as you've seen, he won the first 2. I don't know if this is a best of 7 series, but if it is, I sure can't afford to lose game 3 after dropping the first 2 at home. Anyway, sports analogies aside, I make it 85, and they both call. So with 260 in, the flop is 9-10-6 with 2 clubs, and it gets checked to me. I bet 150, and both call. So we have a $710 pot, and the turn is the queen of hearts. Check to me, and I bet again, this time for 225. Under the gun folds to my bet, but plus 2 calls. So he's going heads up to me on a river, yet again attempting to beat me when I have kings for a third time on the day. with $1,160 in the pot, that river comes the deuce of clubs, and he checks. Now, I know this opponent better than any other guy in the room, and he's tough. He's more than capable of trying to check raise because he knows that I'm a thin value better. And obviously, if he has a queen, I should bet here, but for several reasons, I didn't think that was all that likely. So I opt for the very nitty check back, and I end up winning against 8-10. I don't think he'd have called a river bet with that, though you never know sometimes. And that gives me a chance to shout out one of my favorite Instagram handles I've seen, at Nitty by Nature, which was me in that hand, and I'm not proud of it. Amazingly enough, if that was a 7-game series, we did play Game 4, as I had kings yet again, and he was involved. But we both ended up losing to local favorite Bugsy, whose ace-queen won it on an ace-7-4 flop. So after an up-and-down day and about a 10-hour session, I rack up and book the win. All right, wrapping up, cashing out. A $1,291 win on a day that looked pretty grim at times. Managed to make a nice rally and come back at the end there. As you can see, the parking lot is jammed. That's a result of two things. The fact that A, there are no more masks required, and B, they're doing this Tesla giveaway weekend here at the Peppermill. So everybody and their mother is here. It is a zoo at Peppermill right now. Fortunately for me, I already have a Tesla, so not a big deal that I'm not going to win. That's going to wrap things up for us. As always, do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe buttons, and also hit me up on Poker Bros. If you want to get some good action in when you're on the go, download that app and click on the link in the description below and use my referral code. You can join the group that has a lot of viewers of this vlog. We'll see you next time. All right, this vlog's not over yet. Those of you who were at the meetup game with me and Jeff Boski in Vegas recognize this man.
Oh, Boski.
Yep.
I remember Boski.
Yep, good old Boski. Now, the last time you saw me, I was telling you how incredibly packed this parking lot was, how it was totally insane. Everyone wanted to win this Tesla. And who ended up winning it? My buddy, Dave Johnson. Those of you who live in Vegas are going to remember him from Fox 5. And those of you who live in Reno from Colo 8. And you win this bad boy. What was that feeling like?
Pretty wild. They called my name and I was literally in disbelief because it was so many, a long list of names, all these names. You're like, come on, call the very normal, plain Dave Johnson. Just say those words. And they actually did. I was just like kind of in shock because I had already given up because they listed so many winners of free play and then they get to the car and I'm like, whatever. And I was literally walking out the door. So it was pretty wild, pretty surreal.
So, to recap, there are thousands upon thousands of people. And I used to think this might be fixed, but now we know it's not fixed because there's no way that you were like the perfect candidate to win. And I also wonder how big of a underdog you were to win, because there were some people in here that the amount of money they lost gambling, they could have bought 2 Teslas. That we know, and we know that's not the case with you. So I wonder about that part of it. But
well, yeah. We know someone who won 2 in a row. What are the odds of that? 2 Teslas. I think it was Teslas too. I think.
Is she the one that plays tons of slots all day and all night, but then goes and plays 3-6 no limit? 3-6 limit.
Yeah, that's the wild part. Yeah, she's a nice lady, but I haven't seen her lately. But yeah, 3-6 limit, yet wins 2 Teslas. And she must have been hitting the slots hard.
Yeah, well, I tried to talk Dave into taking the car. I have a Tesla, you can actually see it right here. My Model 3 is right here. I was trying hard to convince him to take the car, but you didn't take the damn car. You took straight cash, homie. You went Randy Moss.
I did. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. They would have destroyed it in about a month. It just wouldn't have been worth it, but I did get a lot of these.
Yeah,
of that.
So you don't have the brick anymore.
No.
Earlier, Dave walks up and he shows me a brick that looked like something Tom Dwan would put into the pot on high stakes poker.
3 bricks of 10,000.
I thought they'd give a check. They actually give cash for this damn thing.
Well, because they want you to lose it, but I went straight to the bank.
They want you to put it all on black. That's what they want you to do. Well, I just thought I'd let our viewers know that you pulled off this car.
People really win.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are a real son of a bitch. I'm not gonna lie to you.
This I know.
You really are.